Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This is a chart, a daily chart of the US dollar, Japanese yen crossed over the Nikkei 225. That's the Japanese stock market index. Now, I've shown this chart before. The reason why this is important is because it's a demonstration to you of how using paper assets such as stocks to protect yourself against inflation or a devaluing currency is sort of like running in place, a dog chasing its tail. Now you can see here that the beta of this chart is approaching 1. With beta, a 1 means they move exactly in sync, and then the opposite end is they move completely divergent from each other. But you can see here that it's hard to even distinguish the lines of one from the other. Of course, the bar chart is going to be the US dollar yen, and then the line chart is the Nikkei. But you can see they're pretty much moving in lockstep. What that means when you break it down is that people who bought the Nikkei at the beginning of this great rally, they are pretty much in the same place they were when you calculate out the currency differential. So that shows you how it operates on the Nikkei. Now I've drawn some other charts here. This chart is a chart of the US dollar index crossed over the US dollar Chinese yuan, the Chinese currency. So the bottom line here is the depreciation of the dollar against the Chinese currency, and we're just going into new lows again here. And then the top line is the US dollar index. Now that's a basket, and the Chinese currency is not in that basket. Now that's very surprising, considering that China really is the world's manufacturing powerhouse. They're accumulating the world's gold as we speak, and they're, in my mind, the most important country for the world's economy right now, but they're not in the basket. And you can see the dollar index from the beginning of this period. It's before the financial crisis, so it's about December of 2007. That was the beginning of the recession. And you can see that the dollar index dropped and then rallied strongly during the financial crisis. It began to fall off with the QE intervention, and then it has pretty much moved up and down or sideways since then. So it's up about 7.24% since the beginning of the recession. Whereas you can see that the dollar has lost nearly 20% of its value against the Chinese currency since that same time. So a 25% differential. Now, let's do a comparison of the US stock market and this Chinese currency, and that is a cross of the Chinese currency and the Dow 30. So you can see the beta on this one is very tight as well. You can see some divergence here, but pretty much as the dollar loses value against the Chinese currency, and you can see right up here, we're going into new highs. That's new highs in the value of the Chinese currency, pretty much following along with any new highs in the Dow. So it's my contention that just as the Japanese investors are treading water, even though the Nikkei has rallied tremendously, their currency has dropped tremendously. Same thing with the Dow. The percentage rise in the Dow is mirrored by a percentage decline in the dollar versus the Chinese currency, which in my mind is the most important currency out there right now. So a lot of it is illusion. That's why you have to invest in the precious metals. Now, I wanted to spend the rest of the time talking about Perth Mint. I did a post on the subscriber site to cover a video that I did, I believe it was back in April. And I covered the Australian Kookaburra snake privy. Now, back when I covered that coin, silver was at 24.50, and it's now declined to 1955, so it's down about 25%. Now, that coin, on the other hand, was about 30.26 when I covered it. It's now selling at 37.60, and you can see there's an eBay link to the price. So you can read the full story at the subscription site. Now, I wanted to get into these Perth mintage numbers. I came across these today, and they're very important. As you know, the Perth Mint is my favorite. There's a number of reasons. The first reason, of course, is that they're all individually sealed in plastic capsules. That's important because if you're into numismatics, you know the grading levels are MS 65 through MS 70 for BU through Gem BU. A coin that is sealed from the beginning in a plastic capsule and is not released in a tube has a much lower chance of a lot of the clanging and scratching that happens with the American Silver Eagle, the Canadian Maple Leaf, and even the Canadian Wildlife Series, as well as the Philharmonics and others. So that's one reason why the Perth is one of my favorites. Another reason is the tremendously low mintage. Now, we're going to be looking at the Kookaburra series, the Koala series, and then the Lunar Series 2. Those are the main silver coins out of Perth that I have concentrated on. Now, let's start off with the Kookaburra series. For the most part, these mintages are limited at that 300,000 level. That's a limit that the Perth puts on them. You have to understand these two columns. The first column here is the maximum mintage. That is the total amount that Perth will mint them at. And remember, some of these are minted on demand, some of these are pre-subscribed. But the main thing to keep in mind is that for the 1 ounce Kookaburra, you have this 300,000. That's the maximum number. Once that's reached, then you can see declared mintage, it becomes sold out. Now, we're going to see that the Kookaburra is different than the Koala and the Lunar series in that there isn't a half-ounce coin. Now you can see this started back in 1990, and the first 2 years you can see that they sold out. So they sold those 300,000. They only had that 1 ounce coin offered. Then in 1992 they offered the 10 ounce and the kilogram and the 2 ounce, and you can see that the 300,000 of the maximum mintage was not reached in that year. They only minted 219,000. That's how many were ordered. So what they do is they mint up to that maximum number, and if they're not ordered, then they just don't get minted. Now, you have to remember with the Kookaburra series, if you go to APMEX, if you go to Gainesville, if you go to Provident, if you go to some of the other sites, you're going to find listings for these older coins, and that's because Perth has gone back and minted more of these coins. They're allowed to do that in the situation where the maximum mintage was not reached. So you're not going to see the 1990 and 1991s, but you are going to see more of the 92s, and we'll go down through this series here. You can see the 1993 was 190. It kept falling in 94 to 174. In 1995 it fell all the way to 154. Seemed to make a bottom. We did 170 in 1996, 159 in 1997, all the way down to 103 in 1998, 109 in 1999, 104 in 2000, 169 in 2001. The low one here is going to be 2002, where they only put out 91,000. Then we start to come up 109, and then we hit, this is probably the lowest here at 84,000 in 2004. got 95 in 2005, 87 in 2006. Now this was the second leg of the silver bull market, and you can see we had a big jump in 2007 to 213,000. Then we sold out in 2008, and we sold out every year since then. You can see that the 2013 Kookaburra is already, to this date, sold 271. But you have to notice this difference here. The maximum mintage was upped in the year 2011 to that 500,000, and that was the case in 2012 as well. They still sold out, even though they increased it by 200,000. But this year's the first year that it's at 1 million. So will they reach that 1 million and sell out? I don't know. So that's the Kookaburra series. You have to remember that they're going back and minting those older years because they never reached sold out for many of those years. So keep that in mind. That's going to be something you're going to consider when you're looking at potential numismatic value. Now the next one I want to look at is the Koala series. This is one of my absolute favorites. I love the Koalas. Now you have to keep in mind here with the Koalas that you have the half-ounce coin. So the Koala started in 2007. In that year, they did not have the other numbers of coins, the other denominations. You just had that 1 ounce $1 coin, and you can see they did 137,000 of those in 2007. Now I picked up quite a few of those. I picked them up late, so I ended up paying a pretty high premium on those. I don't remember what it was, but it was at least a 20% premium on those coins. Of course, now the 2007, 2008, those are going for $80 to $100 a piece. Now this 2008, this was the low mintage year for the Koala, and you can see that you also had a half ounce, and they only ended up doing 13,000. Now I do not believe that the Perth Mint goes back and revisits these Koalas. I haven't seen that so far. If you know differently, let me know. In other words, once these are out, they're out. So you can see the 2009 series, that's one that I picked up quite a few of. Unfortunately, it has 336 that were done, 336,000. That's a pretty high number. We got 233,000 of the 2010s, and then we had a whopping 910,000 done on the 2011 year. The 2012 backed off quite a bit at 388,000, and then you can see the 2013 Koala is only at 130,000 so far this year. So a big outlier with that 2011. I have some of those. I wish I would have bought the half ounce. Now you can follow these half ounce mintages down as well, and some of these half ounces are really rare, and I don't believe they're going to go back and redo these. So the half ounces in 2008, only 13,000. The half ounces in 2009, only 15,000. I just have a couple of those. The half ounces in 2010, 13,000. Again, very, very low. And in 2011, it really jumped up with 76,000. You can see in 2012 they got 118,000 of those out. Now I got quite a decent number of those. I don't have any of the 2012 1 ounce, but I do have the half ounce. And then you can see here that the half ounce on 2013 really isn't that high at all. Again, I don't know what date this is updated to. So you just have to go by percentages. You can see that the half ounce in 2012 is about a third of the 1 ounce, whereas right now it's 1/6. So going from this, it looks like if you can pick up those half ounce 2013 koalas, I just recently ordered some of those on some of the recent drops we had. That may be a great deal. Now, the last one, and this is my absolute favorite by far, this is the Lunar series. All of the positive Perth Mint factors come into play. as well as the fact that these coins are designed to appeal to the Chinese. And as we've covered in many previous videos, the Chinese are the ones who have all the money right now, and they're going to have all the money in the future. So it's my guesstimate that the Chinese are going to place a high premium on these coins that were minted just for them. So you can see here that starting out in 2008, and that was the beginning of this Lunar Series 2. Now there's Lunar Series 1 and Lunar Series 2. I wasn't in the game with the Lunar Series 1, so I'm just going to cover the Lunar Series 2 here. Basically, it's based on the Chinese calendar. There's 12 different years, and then it starts over. So 2008 was the year of the mouse. You can see that the 1 ounce sold out, and the half ounce did 17,000. The next year was the year of the ox. That one sold out on the 1 ounce and did 17,000 on the half ounce. The next year was the big year for me. That was the year of the tiger. As soon as I saw that coin, I knew I wanted as many as I could possibly get. Now, I bought a large number of the 1 ounce. You can see they sold out, and I have a number of the half ounce as well. Those jumped to 50,000 on the half ounce. That's a significant increase over the previous year. Also keep an eye on the 2 ounce. You had 63,000 of the 2 ounce tigers that were ordered, whereas the 2 ounce ox you only had 18,000, and the 2 ounce mouse you only had 9,000. The next year was the year of the rabbit. That was not one that I followed. I didn't like the coin. You can see though that they did 300,000. They did sell out, and they did 124,000 on the half ounce. So it was very popular on the half ounce. They did 2.5 times the amount that they did on the tiger. The next one was the Dragon series. This was a highly anticipated series. I've covered before the fact that the pre-allotments from APMEX and from the others, they started out at $99. They were not anywhere near spot, and they've come down. I've covered that in other articles of how we're watching the price drop. It was just so overpriced. But you can see it's still sold out, and they did an amazing 389,000 of the half ounce. Now, I have not yet purchased a 1 ounce Silver Dragon. I have purchased a number of 2 ounce coins, got those around 64, 58 to 64, and I purchased a large number of the half ounce coins. You can see that although they were unlimited, it looks like they did 389, so not a lot more than the 1 ounce. I started buying the half ounce at around 22. I think the best price I've ever gotten those for is about 13, so I think my average price on those half ounces is about maybe 15, 16 or so. Now, the latest year is the year of the snake. We just have the up to the most recent date information, and you can see it is sold out. They haven't increased the number the way they did with the koalas. You're still limited at that 300,000 number, but they are sold out, and I have picked up a number of the half ounce snake coins. Those seem to be fairly reasonably priced. I think you can get them for about $13 right now. But you can see that the snake does not appear to be doing the amount of volume that the Dragon did on the half ounce, and the 2 ounce you can see that it doesn't appear to be doing that much volume as well. So that is the best figures I have for the Perth products. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what to look for. I suggest that you should analyze those numbers if you're interested in Perth. They highly track the mintage numbers and the prices. They go on eBay. Those track very, very closely, and based on the most popular ones, they're going to be quite a bit higher, whereas the ones that aren't very popular really don't have much of a premium at all. So back to the charts. It's very important to understand that even though the stock markets go significantly higher, the currencies seem to be gaining in value. A lot of that is just an illusion when you cross them over and find out that your paper is being diluted by paper. That means that when you can get physical silver and gold for these phenomenally low prices, you can see there $19.58 for an ounce of silver. That is probably as undervalued based on an inflation adjustment straight line from here, probably just as undervalued right now as you were back in 2008 or as you were back in 2004. Inflation has continued. Silver is very low. It's a great time to stack. If you can pick up those fantastic Perth products at a few bucks over spot, I guarantee that you're not going to be disappointed. And we'll talk to you next time.